Hello. So, would you like to be a great hypnotherapist? Well, then it's a good idea to learn how to do great hypnotherapy sessions. So, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to give an overview and an anatomy of a session, step by step by step. And when you first start learning hypnotherapy, it's really good to have an idea in your mind of the different steps to go through. And then once you've got an idea and you've then delivered those sessions a few times, you can then start playing around with it and missing pieces out here, switching things around, finding things you're just naturally you enjoy doing and you find work. So I'm just going to give an overview of the number of different things I do during a typical session, but it does vary quite greatly. But it'd be really helpful to know all these steps. So it's good to listen to all this video so you get a good understanding of what to do in a session. Because when you do my training course, this is how I'd like you to deliver a session to start with, and then start playing around with it. Okay, so let's get on with it. So the first thing I'm going to do, let's imagine the client is coming at 12 o'clock today. I'm going to do the pre-session prep. So what I will do, I will look over the notes that they've sent me. I always ask a bunch of questions. And then what I normally do the night before, or maybe an hour or two before the session, I will go over what they've said, and I will take all the key things that really kind of resonate, and I think that's important. So I'll take down some important information from their notes. I'm always ready. It's half an hour before a session. And I'm getting myself ready as well. I might do some deep breathing. I might calm myself. I'll time my tea and coffee I always like taking a tea or coffee into the therapy room when the client first arrives. So I'll get myself ready and I've prepared the notes. So I know what's going to happen. Well, not know, but I've got a good understanding of why they're coming. And I've normally had a conversation with them as well. And then what I normally do is I will then write on the right-hand side of my paper a few techniques that I kind of feel might be right. It might be, I might think, oh, parts therapy would be good for this, or timeline, or something else might just come to me. I like to spend a few minutes, and then sometimes I just almost close my eyes and just imagine the session unfolding. Just take a moment to just think, right, yeah, that would go well, and just I kind of almost allow my unconscious mind to just give me a little bit of inspiration. Okay, so the next thing is the client then arrives. So what we're going to do, we're going to give them a warm welcome. Okay, now that may seem blindingly obvious, but it's not always the case. When I've gone to different therapy sessions, why it's key for a hypnotherapy session to warmly welcome someone is because they often have a bit of nerves. They've often had their own kind of beliefs about what hypnotherapy is, what it isn't. They're often quite confused. They're often a little bit worried that we're going to take control of their mind. They might do something or say something that they don't want to. So they've often got a little bit of, they're often guarded a little bit. Not always, but sometimes they are a little bit. And then they're often then looking at you as if, are you someone they can trust, someone they can connect with? So it makes a big difference. Just welcome them warmly. And then what I normally do is have a few little moments of idle chit chat as they come in. Ask them about their journey. Obviously, if it's on Zoom, we do some different kind of chit chat. But what I'm talking about applies just as well to Zoom as it does to a face-to-face session. I might ask them about the weather. In England, we're all obsessed about the weather. People can talk for hours often about the weather. So we have a few moments of just idle chit chat. I'll offer them a drink, make sure they're comfortable. And yeah, and that's really nice just to have a few minutes. Sometimes that's even 10 minutes, just this idle chit chat. Okay, and then we're going to get on with the client interview. I mean, it's not actually an interview per se, but that's what it's often known as. So even though I might have spoken to the client, even though I've got all their notes in front of me, I will then normally say to them, so obviously I've got an understanding of why you're here, but just tell me, how can I help you today? And then I give them the floor, so to speak. I don't pick the floor up and give it to them, but I give them 5 minutes to just open there, just vent it out without me even really commenting too much at all. I just zip this up, and I sometimes even put my notes to the side and just really engage in active listening, which is really key and important. I know Dolores Cannon talks about when she does a 2-hour talk with her clients, she doesn't have any notes and she just really connects with them. It is good to have your notes down. I do take notes. There are some things client says that is so relevant, I need to write down. But those first 5 minutes now, and you find your own feet as well. This is not you have to do. This is what I've learned to do over many, many years. So I will spend at least 5 minutes where I put my notepad to the side and I'll really listen to them and let them. People are often not listened to properly. You know, normally if you're talking to your friends or your family, as you're telling them something, they're thinking about something else already to reply to. And now they just want to say that thing. And then they often just speak over you or just blurt it out. Or they're not listening to you now. They've gone off creating their own response. So to actually have someone listen to you is a wonderful feeling. And that really helps with the rapport. So rapport, you're going to hear this so much when it comes to hypnosis. And it's key for any therapeutic session, but especially in hypnosis, because they need to be able to let go. That's one of the keys to the session working when we do the hypnosis part. Okay, so the client interview. So this will also involve things like, tell me more. How does that make you feel? Tell me more. Get them to expand and go deeper into it. And then after a while, I will then start using things like the meta model, which is from NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. And I will get them to sometimes, they might say, oh yeah, well, none of my family like me. And then and I'm like, sorry. And then what I do, like I learned this from Melissa Tears' training course, is very lovingly and very gently, just say every now and then, I'm just going to gently pause you because you said something really important. And I want to just go into that a bit more because you know the story and I'm hearing this for the first time. And the client often will say their story and skim and go over here, there. So it's really good to kind of funnel them sometimes into the right place. And that takes a while. And learning the meta model is something that is quite an art to it. But the meta model is getting the client to sort of focus in on certain aspects of their story and then look at it a little bit closer. And then you can start challenging their beliefs. If they say, well, no one in my family likes me. You say, well, what, no one? Haven't you got a cat or dog that might like you? And they go, well, actually, my grandparents, I got on great with them. Oh, did you? Oh, okay. Tell me more about your grandparents. So, but you can start challenging some of their beliefs. You can start helping them understand their story better, because sometimes we all have our own beliefs. And everyone has sets of beliefs, and a lot of them are just not real. They're not 100% true. No one is sitting there helping us create our own beliefs. And a lot of our beliefs are created when we were like 0 to 7. That's when you're a sponge and you soak things up. I'm a good person. I'm a bad person. I'm a lucky person. I'm an unlucky person. A lot of these beliefs, I'm not lovable. I'm not likable. A lot of this rubbish that people believe is soaked up from when they're very young. And a lot of what we do as hypnotists is help them realize that that's not true. One of the things as well that I always have in my heart when a client comes is that this is a magnificent soul in front of me, that this is someone that is perfect inside, their soul, their essence. And I heard someone say what they do silently with their clients is just silently say, I love you, in their head. And when they do that, it helps them and the client energetically connect. I don't normally say I love you in my head to my clients, but I do open my heart and I know that they are a magnificent soul. Now, not everyone believes what I believe. And I'm not trying to make you or take you that way. But 90% of people believe they have a soul. And your client has got some beauty inside of them. And sometimes people turn up and they're difficult, especially some of the clients we're going to get. So it's really important, and I've learned to find a way of connecting and really feeling a love and a compassion for this person who may be coming across really awkward. And that's because they may have had some awful things happen. But sometimes there's not even awful things that happened. They've just, for some reason, developed a personality that is difficult. And then that difficult personality is partly why they're having so much trouble in life. So when you get this difficult personality in front of you, a lot of you might feel a bit, oh dear, I don't want to really help this person. I don't really want to spend too much time. And that's where it's really good to really be able to connect on a deeper level and realize this is a magnificent soul in front of you. And it's an honor. I find it an honor to help anyone. And also, yeah, on the client interview, this is going off a little bit, but who are going to be your clients? There's a whole new talk about niching. And I don't niche. I treat everyone, and I love seeing everyone, and I love the randomness and the different kind of clients I get coming to me. That's what really, I don't know, just makes me thrive and makes me get excited to have different people coming to me for all different things. Saying that, I do see a lot of addictions, partly because of my background and my family background, and it's something that I just know how to deal with pretty well. So the client interview, and then the next bit, well, also on that client interview, and there's a lot more we can go on to here, but you can sometimes share some of your stuff. Now you need to be careful with this. Don't make this about you. Okay. So Melissa Tears, brilliant hypnotherapist from New York. She had addiction problems. I think she was addicted to heroin. I think she was. She said she was a punk rocker in the 70s, and she managed to resolve all her issues using NLP and hypnotherapy. So she says she's been in the hole and she knows how to get out. And I've been in that hole too, and I know how to get out. Now, there'll be certain situations in your life that you've overcome, and maybe you've used hypnotherapy to help you. And then it can be really helpful sometimes to just share some of your stuff. And you've got to be careful with this, as I said, but it can help develop rapport, trust, and they can feel like, oh, okay, this is someone who knows how to get out of here. But you know, it's not expected that you know how to get out of every situation. Okay. This is one of the things with hypnosis is you don't need to know all the answers. You don't. Okay. Their unconscious mind and their higher mind know the answers. They just got locked into the wrong one. And we're going to loosen them up. I didn't even know that was in my hand. I wonder how long it's been there. All week. It's been there all week in my hand, and I didn't even know. So yeah, so don't worry. If you're ever not sure what to do, just get them deep in hypnosis. All right, just get them deep in hypnosis and let their unconscious mind come online, their creative unconscious mind find solutions. It's easy. This work is easy. It really is. Okay, so the next thing is the hypnosis free talk. Okay, now I could go on about this for a couple of hours. So this is going to be a separate talk. But the hypnosis pre-talk is about demystifying hypnosis, taking away all their fears and their worries and answering any questions or concerns they've got, and then raising expectations so they realize this problem can go away right here, right now. I normally say to clients, the magic happens normally between 1 and 4 sessions. All right, it can happen now, today, but it may take a few sessions. So it's important to let them know it may take a few sessions as well. Because I had someone give me a bad review because her problem didn't go in one session. Even though I had told her it may take a few, I'm now even more careful to let them know this may take a few sessions, but it can go today. And it does go for many clients. If the client expects it to take 10 sessions, guess what? It takes 9 or 10 sessions. If the client expects this problem is going to go on for years with therapy, it goes on for years. When they realize this can go now, there's a shift in their mind. And it allows for this change to happen rapidly. Okay, so the next thing is a well-formed outcome. Basically, it's a goal. Okay, all right, so that's a terrible L, isn't it? Well-formed outcome. This is from NLP again. We'll go more into this later. You just create a goal, okay? Maybe 5 words, a short, simple goal. You know, my goal is to live a healthy, happy life, running amazing hypnotherapy courses in 2026. I'm becoming the best version of myself every day in every way. And it's got to be right for the client. So you find their words, their language, and then you make it into a goal, a well-formed outcome, a phrase. And there's more to it, but that's kind of what it is. We get an intention. And sometimes the client is a bit hazy, a bit vague on their intention. So this can really help. You can make this into a technique where you just do this, take them into hypnosis, and then get them to silently say their well-formed outcome. You can make it into a symbol. Sometimes I might say, just let your well-formed outcome turn into a symbol, an image, or even some kind of number, maybe an angel number, maybe your spirit animal. So one of my well-formed outcomes is a number 222. One of them is one of my spirit animals. I've got a fox, it's a spirit animal. I've got a few spirit animals. So all I've got to do is go into hypnosis and say 222. And my unconscious, my higher mind, and unconscious mind knows what I'm talking about. Or you can just say that phrase, I am becoming happier, healthier, or whatever it is. And then get them to imagine it on a movie screen or whatever. All right, so a well-formed outcome. So the next thing we're going to do is, I don't always do this, but it's what they call a hypnotic contract. Now, they haven't got to sign anything. All right. This is just getting them to agree verbally that they're happy to go into hypnosis, that they're ready to make the changes today. Okay. Because sometimes people have got some kind of resistance to it still. So you just get them to say, are you ready to go into hypnosis? Yeah, I am, yeah. Are you ready to make the changes today? Yeah. All right. Sometimes I forget that bit, but it is a good little thing to put in. I should maybe remember to put it in more often. Then the next thing is what's called suggestibility tests. There we go. Easy for me. Is that one word? Got no idea if I spelt that right. Suggestibility tests. So many hypnotherapists say they don't like calling them suggestibility tests because clients don't like feeling like they are suggestible. So I don't call them that. So these would be things such as, could do a little pocket here, such as magnetic fingers, magnetic hands, a bucket and balloon, the lemon test, things like that. Yeah. All right. Why do suggestibility tests? I've played around with these. I did them to start with when I first started learning hypnosis. Then I thought these are nonsense. Why would we do magnetic fingers? I'm I'm not a stage entertainer here. I'm not doing this for comedy, ego, to show how great I am. Why would I use this in the therapy room? Okay, so I use these often, probably in most sessions, because they fire up the client's imagination. It also is a great convincer for many clients that something different is happening here today. When they see their hands start coming together, some of them go like, whoa, and they're like, blooming hell. Okay. So I normally use magnetic fingers, magnetic hands. They're the ones that I like to use, and they flow nicely together. And then sometimes from here, I will go into hypnosis. You don't have to. But these fire up the imagination. It gets them playing along. The unconscious loves these games. And for some people, it can be quite an amazing experience. And they can really feel like their fingers just come together like magnets, or their hands just float together. Or if you use buckets and balloons, like one just floats up all on its own, and the other one is like a 10-ton weight. So some people at that moment, they almost go, wow, something different is happening here today. Because that's what we want people to believe or feel and sense, that this is not just them sitting there with their eyes closed. Something different is happening here today. Now, John Grinder, one of the founders of neuro-linguistic programming, he says for effective change, you need two things: congruity plus ritual equals change. So congruity is the client being aligned with wanting to make this change, and you being aligned with helping them, having that rapport as well. And then the ritual are these silly techniques we use sometimes. The rituals are this induction where you might get them to focus up on the spot and then open and close their eyes. The induction, counting them down. All these different things we do in a hypnosis session that are not normal to your everyday counseling session. This is the ritual. Because then the person feels like something different is going on here. And it doesn't always matter too much what the ritual is, as long as the client feels there is a ritual going on. But I really like these magnetic fingers, magnetic hands, because it makes some clients really feel like something special is going on here. And when they feel something special is going on, it just allows them to make those changes easier. You almost freeze the conscious mind up and go, yeah, okay, something special is happening now. Now, the lemon test, why are we doing this lemon test? Why not an orange test? Why not a banana test? Why not an apple test? Why a lemon test? Okay, so you put the lemon on the hand, you slice the lemon, you place a piece of lemon on your tongue, you chew the lemon, notice the flavors, the bitterness, the zestiness. Why a lemon? What's the point of it? Most people, I'd say most, and I'm doing it now, when you start imagining having a lemon on your mouth and eating it, you start salivating. Your body has a chemical reaction. It starts producing saliva. Why is your body producing saliva? Why has there been a chemical reaction? All right. Where is the lemon? There was no lemon. The lemon's in your imagination. Okay, so you just imagined it. You knew there was no lemon there. All right. But your body acted like there was a lemon there, and it made a chemical reaction. It changed your physiology and got you ready to start digesting this lemon. All right. So I say to the client, on some level, your brain, your unconscious mind, and this is proven by other studies too, of athletes, doesn't know the difference between real and pretend on some level. Okay. So when we make these changes today, when you see yourself in the future acting and behaving how you want, totally free from that problem, on some level, your unconscious and your brain feels like you've let go of that problem. Feels like you're now in the future. You're now acting and it's gone. So what does it do? It starts making the physiology changes. It starts changing things at a molecular, cellular, and a neurological level. Just like it produces a saliva when there's no lemon now. when we do these techniques in hypnosis, your body starts making changes. It almost sounds unbelievable, doesn't it, that this can happen? But it does. Right? We should all be doing hypnotherapy. Everyone should be doing hypnotherapy if you want to do better in your life. Simply, if you want to be happier, want to have good habits, and you want to just do better, no matter what areas of your life. So many great athletes and great people who've achieved things have used hypnosis. Tesla, Isaac Newton used hypnosis. That's how they got their inspirations. Mike Tyson, Tiger Woods used hypnosis to be the greatest ever. And I'm using it to help me to achieve whatever I want to achieve. And I know I can achieve anything, and so can you. Once you use hypnotherapy and NLP and spiritual hypnosis, you can go and do whatever you want to do in this life. If you want to. Unfortunately, most people are addicted to this. And that's half the battle with a lot of your clients. Helping them to get focused on what they should be doing and putting good parameters around things they shouldn't be doing. Okay, so suggestibility test, yeah? Boom, boom, boom. Okay, they're a great little thing to be doing. But you don't have to use these in every session. Okay, and a lot of times I've stopped doing them for months and then bring them back in. So the next one we're going to do is the induction. Deepener. Okay, induction. So at this point, you can go from the suggestibility tests straight into, and now allow your hands to just float down in slow motion, a fraction of a centimeter at a time, while you start drifting into hypnosis. Okay, so, or you might want to now say, okay, do you want to go to the toilet quickly before we start? They can go during the session. It won't muck it up. We can, we'll talk about that another time. So the induction. So this is where you're now going to soften your voice. And during the suggestibility tests, I start softening my voice. When I do the well-formed outcome, sometimes I'll get them to close their eyes and imagine themselves in the future. I will start softening my voice, getting them used to my hypnotic voice, my hypnosis voice that you will develop as you go on. And that's it. It really can make a big difference getting your voice right. I'll talk about that another day, but it's really key, a few things to do. So induction deepeners. Now, some hypnotherapists spend a minute doing this. I know Cole Smith does some really great stuff with magnetic fingers, and then let that hypnosis, your hypnosis, flow all the way down your hands, around the back of your head, into your eyes, and then go deeper. All right, minute, 2 minutes. They've often watched these videos. They're often preconditioned already to go into hypnosis. Other people spend like an hour or half an hour, say, doing long inductions. Some people do the PMR, the progressive muscle relaxation, which really jars me a little bit. It's a bit unnecessary, and it's kind of what so many hypnotherapists just are stuck doing. Some people say you don't need to go into hypnosis. You can have light hypnosis. Some people say it's good to have really deep hypnosis. But why use an induction? What is the whole point of this? Well, again, it's part of the ritual, all right? But also, when you use these inductions, and I'll teach you a whole bunch of ones. There's some that I really love and some that I find really, really effective. They basically just move the conscious mind to the side. And that's what we're doing in hypnosis. We're just moving that conscious mind, taking it offline a little bit, just moving it to the side so that we can directly speak to the unconscious. Then the unconscious just starts taking over, starts coming more to the front. They say there's like the critical faculty of the mind, the conscious and then the unconscious. And there's like a firewall. And hypnosis just means this firewall just kind of fades and drifts. So there's a communication between the conscious and the unconscious, much more easier. And that's what we're doing here. I think Erickson said that his clients conscious mind and unconscious mind were out of rapport with each other. Milton Erickson, probably the greatest hypnotherapist of all time. So that's what we're doing. We're putting people's conscious and unconscious mind back in sync. We're putting them back in rapport. And I sometimes say today they're becoming best friends. They're learning to play with one another. And I'll also sometimes say your conscious mind, your unconscious mind, guided by your higher mind. Now, that's not for everyone. Some people go, oh, higher mind, why are we getting spiritual in it? But for some people, it's brilliant. So know your client. So inductions, there are many different ways. Deepeners, just kind of inductions, really. They're very similar. But it's nice to get someone deep into hypnosis where they can feel, you can almost feel the energy kind of change a little bit. So you're doing induction deepeners. So you want to get your client comfortable. I use a recliner, or I've got like a sofa they can lie back on. It's really important that they're comfortable. If they've got a bad neck or they've got a problem, then it's going to stop them letting go. And what else was I going to say? Induction deepeners. Yeah, anyway. So, and then I normally spend 10 minutes doing that induction. Then the next thing you're going to do is the change work, the techniques, whatever that's going to be. The change work. Yeah. So you might do parts therapy. You might do timeline, control room. You might just get them to do their well-formed outcome. You might just get them to start saying it silently, or you just say it and have them imagine it happening. We often, as hypnotherapists, think this part is the most important part, and it really isn't. It really is. It is key. It does make a big difference. You know, I know dozens and maybe hundreds of techniques, but the client's got all the answers inside. So we don't have to be clever and know everything. And a lot of techniques now, you can just get the client to just imagine they're going somewhere, imagine their issue is a problem, speak to the problem. What does it want? You know, there's many different ways. So, but it's good when you first start to have a few techniques that you feel comfortable with, and even scripts. You know, when you first start, I've read many scripts when I first started, and when you do my training, there'll be some scripts that you read, because it's good to get get the words in your mind. And then eventually you want to get to the point where you don't use scripts, because that's where the real magic happens. You know, I don't use any scripts. I might write down parts therapy, timeline. So I've got that in my head now. And I often sometimes find 3 positive memories. One where they felt confident, love, and happy. And then I've got those to use. Okay, all right. So change work, and then you're going to do post-hypnotic suggestions. During that change work, you're going to do future pacing. And I use future pacing normally 2-3 times during the session, seeing yourself in the future. And you can really go into this and make this a whole technique on its own, future pacing. It's brilliant. It's very key to a great session. I should really put it on its own, shouldn't I? Future pacing. Again, that's kind of from NLP, but people have been doing future pacing. It's just seeing yourself, imagining yourself, acting and behaving how you want. It's using visualization techniques. A lot of what we're doing here is visualization techniques. But when you're in hypnosis, they're more powerful. And then the last thing is really you're going to emerge them. You're going to emerge them out. You're going to awaken the client. Now, when you bring them out, you want to then go back to your normal voice, your conversational voice. So you want to increase your speed of how you're talking, and then just bring them up. And then you might break state. You might then go back to talking about the weather. That can help them forget some of the session. And it can be good for them to forget some of the session, because the conscious mind won't pick it all apart then. And then you're going to have your post talk, go over the session. But see, some hypnotherapists don't want to talk too much about the session. But I normally have a short brief talk, but I don't want to talk about it too much because I want it just to sit in there unconscious. So there we go. Pre-session prep, warm welcome to help them feel relaxed. Client interview, go over for 15, 20 minutes while they're here. Hypnosis pre-talk, probably about 15 minutes. Demystify hypnosis, raise their expectations. 5 minutes doing a well-formed outcome. Hypnotic contract, 30 seconds. Suggestibility tests, probably 5 minutes. Induction deepeners, 10 minutes. Change work, 20 minutes, 40 minutes. Emerge, a couple of minutes. And I'll do a review as I'm bringing them out as well. So anyway, I hope that helps. I'm going to be doing more of these training sessions. And please like, subscribe. That would be brilliant. Put a comment if you're interested. And if you want to learn how to be a great hypnotherapist, then I'm running my own training course next year, 2026, 20th of February. So please contact me and I'll do my best to get you on the course. So thank you for listening.